So, as you just said, you came back from Sweden. What did you do there?
We we hired out our producer lives there, and we hired out an ex-Swedish National Radio building, which is empty now. It's in the middle of nowhere, and empty. And so we hired that out in the thought that it might be a great thing to do. But it turned out that it was like, The Shining, the film. It was like that because it was in the snow constantly, and there was about 25 rooms in there, but they were all empty except the 2 rooms that we were working in for 3 weeks.
So we slowly went mad.
We got to the point where we had to leave because we were going mad. We were like, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, like we were throwing the ball at the wall. So it was good though. We got a lot done, and we're well on the way with the album, aren't we? We're really close to it being finished, so that's good. But hopefully we don't have to go back to the cold.
I'm not going back
to the big building in the cold again.
Sounds scary, doesn't it? And what can we expect from the album then?
I guess a kind of a mix. I mean, people haven't heard much at the moment, but I guess we're hoping to deliver songs that are very honest, emotionally quite honest, and with production do something that's.
It's been a long process as well because we started writing songs a year ago, and a lot's happened since then.
Yeah, so a lot of developments and production would kind of try and push things in a more interesting way. Because if you've got core kind of great songs that are just classic songs, you can decorate them and make the production very interesting. And hopefully that's what we want to try and achieve.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And honesty. I think honesty is something that we like, and simplicity as well in it. The fact that to make things as delicate as possible. I think that's the key.
As you said, you started to write the songs about 1 year ago. There are so many people that say, "Oh, I'm writing songs since I was young, or since I started to write." Actually, what made you begin to write the songs?
Well, we've been writing songs for a couple of years, but I suppose one project ended a year ago, and then Hurts began.
Yeah, and we were in bands before together, and we wrote a lot of different songs, and we've only been writing Hurt songs for a year, which is the most important, I think, because before we didn't know what types of songs we were writing and what we were kind of doing. Whereas as soon as we started to write Hurt songs, it was almost like being born again, and we started doing that, and so the album's got it'll have a lot of moments where we didn't really know what we were doing, a lot of innocence. And then it's also got the other end of the spectrum where
it's got moments where we knew too much as well.
Yeah, where we overthought things a little bit too much. So, but that's a great, because for us it was such an important step in our life to end the previous bands we were in and decide to go alone. It was such a big step. So to kind of capture that on an album is quite exciting.
We started last year in this building upstairs. And then a year later, we've come back
downstairs.
Back downstairs. So you could say we've gone backwards.
You're going back to the roots, maybe.
Back to the roots, yeah. That's where we're going.
That's what it is.
And actually, you're here in that little room. You spend some time in that scary house in Sweden. Is it sometimes that you have like, oh, I cannot see your face anymore, like you're going on your nerves in a way, or is it like fine all the time?
I think we've gone past that point. Haven't we? Because we've been spent most of our days alone together for about 4 years. We got past that a long time ago, and now we almost don't even notice that the other one's here.
Yeah, I barely recognise him.
But it doesn't. I guess the great thing is because we're constantly writing music. There's constantly a reason for us to be together all the time, and it never stops. Really,
there's no time to think about personal relationships when there's work to be done.
Because we constantly need each other to work. We have to just keep going, don't we?
Yeah.
And then at some point when we're probably about 40, it'll get too much.
Yeah. Then we'll make solo albums.
Yeah.
Or it's just like a dog and the owner of the dog. You just look the same as the other one.
Yeah.
And what does hers have to do with disco lento?
Well, that was something that because for a while we used to make really kind of we used to make kind of like dance, like upbeat kind of dance, more danceable songs when they were more exciting, and then all of a sudden, just as our taste, they stopped and we started to write more ballads and slow songs, and we kind of didn't really understand. We were trying to understand why and what had happened, and we got talking. So we went to Italy on holiday and we got talking to some people, and they were just talking. They just sort of said, they asked about what music we made, and we were trying to explain, and one of them said, it sounds like disco lento, and we got really interested in it for a while, and we discovered that it related to exactly what we were doing, because it was a lot of Italo disco artists that decided to write ballads, slow songs. So we went, that makes sense. It's kind of, and it helped us to understand what we were, because it's always nice to have a reference point to go from, and we were desperately looking for one which wasn't simply Red or wasn't kind of Bryan Adams, because we were writing these ballads. We were like, there must be something else out there. So to find it was really great, and it just, for a while, it just helped us and helped us kind of get our head around and understand what we were trying to do, really, and that's carried on.
Yeah.
Actually, BBC called you to be one of the upcoming bands of 2010. Is there any pressure? I mean, how do you deal with that?
I guess it's strange because we didn't expect it, because I guess in many ways we didn't expect it, but then, I mean, the fact that we believe in our music so much, and we feel that we feel like in the music world it's missing, what we do is missing. The fact that other people believe that too is kind of good, really, and you kind of think, well, maybe we are right. Also,
men bottle their emotions. So if I am feeling the pressure, I'll probably just have a heart attack when I'm 50. But I'll be alright for a few years.
I mean, with the pressure, I think the pressure of everybody else will never be as high as the pressure that we put on each other and ourselves. So it's almost it doesn't kind of compare to how hard we work ourselves. And so when we finish the album, if we've done the best we can, worked as hard as we can, and kind of gone to the limit, then that's enough pressure, really. And then the rest of it almost spurs us on to work even harder, which is good, because it just shows that you've got something to. Because I always think that people are going to judge you either way if you've got the hype or not. So as long as you just do your best,
do the best you can.
And how hard would it be to let the album go? Actually, to really finish.
Impossible. I don't think we'll ever do it.
It's really it's difficult, but I think once you understand that, because when it's your first ever album, it's you think, I've got my whole life to do it. Is it everything I ever dreamed of? Is it the album that when I was 9 years old I dreamt of making, when I was 15 years old, when I was 18? Or is it the same thing I have always ever dreamt of? But then the other side of your brain just says that it captures a moment in time. So whenever you stop that moment, that's the beauty of what it is, that it exists between here and here, which is good, because ideally, it's two ways. I think we'd never stop, or we just stop now and move on to writing the next record, because that's more exciting at the moment. Now it starts to become more exciting about writing the next one when you get to the end of it, because it's like we're going to just.
I suppose the scary thing is we've been writing songs for a couple of years. The idea of not writing songs, coming here every day, is just a bit like, what am I going to do with my days?
Yeah.
I probably have to get a hobby.
Some kind of sport. I don't know what sport though.
And do you have any hobbies right now? Is there anything else you do than just being here?
Oh.
I like middle distance athletics. I like the 800 metres, because it's not a sprint and it's not a marathon, so it's really difficult. You got to leg it around for 800 metres, it's tough.
I don't do anything else. One day, I used to do music to stop thinking about everything else. and now I'm in a dilemma. I'm in a horrible position because now I can't do anything else. I haven't got anything else to do. So if I've been making music all day, I go home and I go, I don't want to make music now. But then I think, what do I do? And so I just listen to more music and so I'm lost when I keep asking everybody what their hobby is. I ask everybody I meet what their hobby is to try and find my own. I'm excited to see what people do with their time, what people do as a hobby.
What's your hobby?
Oh, actually, I'm running as well.
Oh, right.
That's everything.
2 people, maybe I should start running then.
And it really brings you like sort of to another sphere. Where actually the dilemma with me is also like when I'm working until like whatever 9 and coming back around like 9 o'clock like the evening, and then there's not really much time. But then actually when I'm coming home, it's just like, oh, can I eat something? So I'd love to say my hobby is running, but I'm not too sure what I do. So
No.
But if you do it in your head, then it's a hobby.
Mm.
Even if you don't do it properly, if you think about doing it, that's a hobby.
But it's a little bit sad, isn't it? I mean, when I went to school, at least they were just like, well, I'm dancing and I'm going to cinemas and I'm going shopping, and now it's just like, well, what are you doing? I cannot talk about anything else but working.
But if your work is if what you do as a job used to be a hobby, then I guess people would say don't complain. But I have to find something to do. Maybe I don't know. Well, I'll work it out. I'll keep asking.
We'll think of something.
Yeah, chess or something.
And what do your parents do then? I mean, are they calling you like daily? Like, how is it going? Are they excited as well?
My mother's excited.
So is mine. They both are.
It kind of gets a bit annoying, to be honest. Get phone calls every single day.
And my dad seems to find a hobby in looking on eBay and looking for people illegally distributing our music, and he sends me updates. He goes, somebody's doing this, somebody's selling it on eBay, somebody's posted the MP3s on the internet, which is quite good because it means we keep on top of it.
He also sends you dirty jokes as well.
Yeah. but he does. But yeah, they're really excited, and it's a lot of the time they don't really. They can't really get their head around it, can they? Which is interesting.
I spent an hour on the phone the other day trying to explain the difference between a remix and a normal mix to my mother.
But they've always got no matter how little they understand it, they've always got the advice. They've always try and give you advice, even if they don't understand. They still try to give you the advice, which is sometimes difficult, isn't it?
And it leads to something like, well, you have to eat your banana, and did you get enough sleep?
But sometimes it's, why aren't you releasing the album at this time?
Yeah.
In which case it's, you don't understand. I don't know. I don't even know. So I don't know how you know. Do you work for Sony? Probably not.
And actually, when you look into the internet, maybe your dad's better than I am, but there are not really so many information that can be found about you. Is it made by sense? Like, do you do sort of a mystery out of that?
Yeah, well, we always thought that it would, the whole, our general kind of ethos and thought process is to do as much as possible with as little as possible. And we always thought that it's a challenge, really big challenge to try and say as much as you can and not give as much, because in pop music and music in general, people give a lot away. Now with you got all the internet, everyone, you can find out what people had for breakfast, which is boring, really. I don't really want to know. So we thought it'd be a challenge to try and hold everything back from everybody. And it was brave because we didn't know how people would react. But we thought, well, it doesn't matter because people could go, I'm not interested. There's no information. But I think people like the game. And we like playing the game as well, so it kind of works out, and also it makes what you do more valuable to people. If you do small amounts of things, every small thing you do becomes valuable, which is the point. Which is kind of why you do it. You make a video, or you write a song for it to be valued. So to give them all away at once, it kind of just devalues every one, doesn't it?
I think it's quite hard in the high time of Facebook or whatever. You get a message like, I bought myself a coffee. Well, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, it's almost a reaction as music fans to that as well, because we don't want, because that's what we are, just fans first. And so you look around and think, well, what would I, if I was a fan, what would I want from an act? And then you just go, I'd probably not want to know what they had for breakfast. So you think, well, we just won't do that. And it's yeah, I guess it's a challenge as well, because we like to challenge ourselves, and it's hard. but that's the whole point. But if it's hard for us, it comes across, doesn't it?
Actually, you're quite stylish. Is that because of the product hurts, or is it yourselves?
I guess it comes from ourselves, but because it comes from the whole. I guess it comes from less is more. I think, and the way we dress isn't kind of over. It isn't extravagant or over the top. It's very simple, which is kind of. I guess if it wasn't, if we weren't in Hertz, it'd be the same, because that's the way our brain works, and it's and you just grow. It's funny, the more time you spend together, the more time you end up looking the same, really.
But it's also about when you leave the house in the morning, being proud of what you look like, having a sense of pride about you. I think it's important. Sets you up for the day.
And the world feels like you're in control of the world a little bit more if you look smart, doesn't it?
And I'm a total control freak, so
so it works fine.
And to my colleague who wrote the questions, actually, he thought that watching your video, for example, and listening to your music feels a bit like refinding a videotape that you lost within the 80s. Would you agree? Is it a compliment or not?
I guess it's kind of. I guess we do take a lot from that time, but not so much in a recreate kind of way. I think it's more because it's electronic, and because the 80s was a time when there was a lot of honesty in music, emotional honesty, and people were kind of more open about things. I think so. I can see that's why, but I guess it's a mixed blessing, really, because we don't want to. Our whole idea is to push things forward. Like, I guess that happened a lot in the 80s as well.
Yeah.
People had a distaste with what went before them and tried to push things on. So that's what we want to try and achieve. So, and I think the rest of the album is a step forward in that direction. And I think that's the plans. But we do look back. But it's about kind of taking what you've got, learning from what you've got, and then do something different with it, I hope.
Actually, when you think about UK music, you've got people like La Rue, or take even Lady Gaga, who really relate to the 80s quite obviously. Do you have any explanation for that? Is there like any link between society now and then, or whatever?
I think people are kind of. I guess that was a time, the 80s, and even the 70s, and before the 80s, there was a time when there were stars on the TV, and they were just kind of, everything about them made you just go when they were on the TV. And I think people like La Rue and Lady Gaga are kind of slowly attempting to be untouchable superstars again, like Madonna and things. I think music fans want that. That's what music fans want. Is they don't want somebody who's within reach. They want these big characters which haven't existed for probably, I mean, realistically, for probably about 20 years. The big kind of they haven't existed. So I think it shows that people want the magic and the kind of special nature of music putting back into it, as opposed to it being just throwaway and easy. And because the internet's given us a chance to find music every second of the day, everything we do, whereas I think people have got bored with that. People have got a bit bored with having all the choice, and they want just big special moments. So maybe that explains it.
And would you say that you have any relation to like this new romantic style of the 80s?
Not necessarily. I think it's more.
I never really thought about that.
No, I've never really thought about it. It's more. I guess musically, there's a lot of bands that had a similar idea. Then, but it's not really something we're interested in, or kind of, or look to so much for anything, really.
And what are your favorite bands from first the 80s and then from now and today?
I suppose from the 80s, bands like Tears for Fears are important to us.
Depeche Mode. and Prince,
Prince,
people like that, because they were people who made pop music, but they made it in a very they made hopeful music, but in a very kind of strange and almost bleak atmosphere. And Prince did things where he made classic songs, but made them sound really strange, which is really inspiring because it's really brave, and they did brave things. I mean, as far as now goes, there's a lot of music that we dislike, which is probably why we make a lot of the music we make. I guess we kind of dislike. There seems to be quality seems to have slipped dramatically, and yet nobody seems to have noticed. There seems to be a lot of bands who make songs that aren't very good. And if you compare them to bands, I mean, say a major pop band from the 70s, say ABBA, who made they weren't kind of a cool band, or they weren't kind of the most forward thinking at the time. But if you compare them to a modern day act who would be perceived the same, you can't see many modern acts in 30 years' time being heralded as the best songwriters of all time. So I think so that's kind of, there needs to be a lot more thought, I think. I think music fans need to be made to feel intelligent and their opinion valued, as opposed to just and people are looking for music that's well thought out, I think, aren't they?
And any favourite band of today?
I don't know. I guess
I wish I could give you a good answer. I like the XX. They're good.
I like the drums. They're good.
I like Marina and the Diamonds. She's got good songs.
And I guess they're all people who do something a little bit different, which is good. But I'm yet to see an act on the scale that I want to see them. A big act. I'm yet to see somebody on the scale of somebody like Lady Gaga, who I like as much as the XX or the drums, which is that's what I kind of want. So I'm hoping.
Is there any Manchester in your music?
There's a lot, I think.
Yeah, it's in all our songs, really. You can't escape it.
Yeah, I don't think we could make it. I don't think we could make our music anywhere else, really, because it's there's less of the Manchester heritage in it, the sound. But Manchester as a place is very different to the way it's perceived. There's a lot of new buildings in Manchester. It's not a place that to look at. It's not a place that is historic or like a museum at all. It's all new buildings. It's all really it's really fast and almost quite cold in its architecture. But the people here are so warm and honest and friendly that I think we take a lot from that. And it's also there's a lot of happiness and hope in the people, and yet it's always cold and it always is quite grim outside. And I think that's what musically that's what we kind of wanted to try and achieve, isn't it? We wanted to capture that moment of hope and I guess happiness, but in a really sort of sad kind of dark setting, which is what we try and do with the music. So there's a lot of it in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
So just a little bit like a cold costume around warm songs, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, because that's what it's like here.
Oh.
So.
Just have to look. Was it when you grew up? Did you have the choice, and did you think what you want to become, or was it just like, well, I'm going to make music?
For a long time, I wanted to be a scientist, but then I had to stop when we started making music. That's what I wanted to do, and I always thought that I wanted to be part of music, but I'm not very good at playing an instrument or anything else. So I thought, well, the only way to do it is learn how to write songs, and because I can't play an instrument at all very well, which is fine because it meant I haven't really got time to learn to play an instrument because we try to learn to write songs. So once you start, I kind of thought I want to be part of it, and I thought the only way to do it is to write songs, which has been helpful for us, hasn't it?
Yeah.
To learn how to write songs, because that's the most important place to start. and all of our songs start on a piano or on a guitar. Because I always think if you can whistle them, if an old man can whistle them, and they sound good, then you've got a good song. And no matter what you do with it, it'll always be a good song.
And are you playing the instruments?
I play the instruments, yeah. But I didn't start making music till I was 19. I can't remember what I did before that. My dad was a milkman for 30 years, so I think I probably would have been a milkman. Maybe I chose the better choice, though. Got to get up at 1 in the morning.
At 1?
Yeah.
Really? And when was he finished then?
About 9. Yeah. Not very good money either.
No.
So the alternative would be a milkman and a scientist, which wouldn't have made for a very interesting interview, would it?
But what sort of scientist would have been that?
A physicist, I wanted to be.
Really? So, just change it. I think we're nearly done. We know that you don't have any other interest in making music. Where is the appeal in making pop music?
I think it's important. I think pop music's really important. It's for me, it's the music that I learned. It's the music that I started to listen to. I think it's the music that everybody starts to listen to, and you evolve to different things. But a lot of bands make pop music. Well, most bands do. That's why you know who they are. I mean, you don't know who the Rolling Stones are for some bizarre song they did on the 3rd album. You know who they are because of Brown Sugar. And Rammstein, the example we had today, you don't know who Rammstein are because of the obscure songs. You know who they are because of the pop songs they write, which is really appealing. And there's something in the challenge of it, I think, because I think it's a different art form to music itself. I think music's one thing, but pop music's a whole different thing to understand, and it fascinates me that it's a challenge to try and. It's not just because you almost can't be taught it either. You've got to try and understand. We spent years trying to understand it. Really, haven't we?
Chasing a 3-minute dream.
But there's a lot, and it's also if you can say a lot with it. If you come from an interesting perspective, you can reach a lot more people, and I guess that's the aim. If you can reach people with what you do, it's important. And if you make pop music, you'll reach more people than if you make any other type of music.
But what exactly are the ingredients in a way? What does it need to make a really good 3-minute dream, as you said?
Any number of things, doesn't it? You never know.
They're all different. That's the magic of it. A pop song. They're all different. I mean, there's song structures, but what makes a great pop song is you almost can't. You almost couldn't write it down. So, so that's what makes it fascinating. Because one song, one moment, you go, "That's an amazing pop song," and you could hear another one and go, "It doesn't sound anything like the one I've just heard," but there's still something about it. I guess what makes them great is that they affect everybody in a way where you might hate them with a passion, and you might go, "I hate that song," or it might get stuck in your head, or your grandma might like it, or your little sister might like it, and someone who's the coolest, thinks they're the coolest person in the world, might like it, and yet it's just one song. I think that's what makes a great pop song, is that it blankets everybody, which is kind of interesting.
Takes a lot of patience though to make it. Do you write 60, 70 songs before you get one that's a really good one?
Because that's the nature. A lot of the time, the ones that we've done have taken us the least amount of time.
And the best ones always come naturally, don't they?
Which is that makes it more fascinating, because you spend hours in this room trying to do it, and then you do one in an hour, and then you go.
The best pop songs for us are written before the song becomes homework. In that first hour, if you can get something magic in that first hour, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
More often than not, ends in homework, though.
Yeah, once it starts to become homework, then it gets hard.
Actually, I think it's quite a phenomenon, as you said. I think the most important thing is that it touches you somehow. I think I've got the most Lady Gaga songs. I'm just fuck off. Just it really gets on my nerve. But then
that's the
I
whole
see
point.
it really touches me. And then I had it after what I saw the MTV Music anything she did on the piano or something. And she said, "Oh, what sort of song is this?" And I went home and I just had the melody in my head. I was like, "Oh fuck, it works."
Yeah, that's the thing. And I guess for a lot of the thing as well, great pop songs are always sad songs that you can dance to, I think, or that kind of idea that if you're sad, they let you just kind of get on with it. They don't patronise you and go, "This is how happy you should be. This is what it's like in LA. This is everybody's happy." And at the same time, they don't go, "Oh, everything's so bad." And I guess in the way that Radiohead no one's really as sad as Radiohead makes out, and no one's as happy as Britney Spears makes out. And for me, that's kind of they're both insincere in different ways. Whereas, although they might be great, but I think the ones that have most effect are the ones that are just normal. It's that normal emotion of, it's a very British thing, I think, which is not too bad. When you ask a British person how they are, they go, "Not too bad," and it's never "I'm brilliant" or I'm sad. It's just kind of,
I'm all right.
I'm okay. And I think that the ones that capture that moment are really special. And as songwriters, there was a moment that came when you spend a lot of time thinking that emotion and that moment's not very appealing. You think, well, why would anyone want to hear about that? But then you realise that you feel like it every day. So if you can start to write songs about it, it becomes easy to write songs, because you start to realise that it isn't the knife edge of hope and despair is the most interesting point. Neither one's great. The middle's the most important, isn't it?
Actually, I think it's quite German as well. Like, you're feeling well when you're not complaining too much.
Yeah,
it's not like
can't complain.
Million, but it's just like, oh, I've got nothing to complain about. I think I'm all right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Last thing, what do you want to achieve with your music?
I guess it's. I guess one thing I always think is that if we make it or somebody else makes it, the music that we make, I think it's important that honesty and I guess music needs to be more intelligent, I think. And I guess if it's us that do it, or as another band that come along and do it, I'll be happy as a music fan, as a songwriter, that there's because it just feels like there's such a gap, there's such a place for it. So I think that's one thing to look for, and and not be underground in the studio. maybe be on the top floor one day. That might be important.
Or outside.
Or outside, yeah.